Okay, I think we can start, right? So once again, thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with all of us. All of us, as in not me alone, all of us here, because it's Friday and then it's afternoon. I apologize for picking this time because the schedule is quite packed, but I I feel it's necessary for me to also share this in conjunction with National Training Week, just in case you know some of you will be interested to expand this strategy, what we call as vibe learning. Okay. My name is Chua Kiman. You can just call me Kiman. I prefer everyone to just call me Kiman. I'm an accredited HRD Corp trainer, so you can also engage me for training if you want to through HRD Corp. But basically, I'm based with Unimas Business School for all the professional program. Now, our focus for today is to kind of know what is vibe coding. Probably you have heard about it, or when you search, they give you different types of explanation or definition, kan? Macam-macam definasi lah tentang vibe coding ni. And then we also have what I call as the vibe framework. I would not claim authorship to it, even though I'm proposing this vibe framework, but I'm not claiming the authorship yet because belum formal lah. But I'm just proposing, throwing out ideas about this vibe framework that we can all follow. And then, of course, we also have a vibe-based task. I have 3 sample kind of tasks where I think you can try and use it as a guide, and then try it out in your teaching and learning. Who knows? It might work. Or if it doesn't work, then probably you can also let me know what to improve and all that. Okay. So basically, this is the agenda for today for about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Uh, Half of it will be me talking, and then half of it will be hands-on. Feel free to participate when you get the chance. Kalau ada yang guna laptop and also computer, is easier for you to participate lah. But if you're using your phone, then it will be harder sebab phone kecil, and then it's a bit hard for you to move around from window. But this session is recorded, so if you need the recording, you let me know, or later on I'll share on my YouTube as well. For the session, okay, and also the slides. Okay, so first of all, I do not set up code because I know the number is not that huge for the afternoon. But just in case, are you familiar with vibe coding? You can just type in the chat. Yes, no, or you can even give your emoji. If it's yes, then you can just thumbs up. If no, then thumbs down. Vibe coding. Anyone? Any yes, by the way? Ramai no tu. Oh, doktor ini pun join juga. Ni expert otak-otak. Okay, just saw your name. Sean said yes. Okay, only who else is there? Yu Fang also said yes. I have 2 yeses. The rest are no. Let me see, just in case I miss anyone. Okay, but generally I think it's a no. I can see generally it's a no, but we have 2 yeses there. Right, so anyhow, the definition of it is not really important. It's more on the application of it, because how to put it, we always have this mindset that coding is really technical, and if you are not into programming, if you're not into IT, if you're not into computer science, then you cannot get in touch with coding. I think the world has changed a lot, and not just in terms of coding, but in terms of all this design thinking and all that, where we try to have that kind of systematic thinking in our process of teaching and learning. So some of you are teaching, I believe, and some of you may not be teaching, maybe a trainer, or maybe you are also a student, but you're just curious about the session today. So I'll share with you, not in terms of vibe coding itself, but more on how to use this vibe coding concept in different types of the way we teach, especially in project-based learning, right? In project-based learning, or even in activities, because what I have done over the past 2 semesters was I use mini activities as well. It doesn't have to be a project. It can be mini activity that you do in class, where everyone can get in touch with this so-called vibe coding, and then we can come up with something where everyone can learn from the whole process. All right, so let's see what it means first. So if you're not familiar with this, Android was the one who created, I wouldn't say he created it, like he coined the word, the concept, And if you trace back, everyone is saying that he's the one, and it's February 2025, just earlier this year. But the whole practice of doing it is not new. It's just that the branding of it as a vibe coding is kind of new. So Andrew was the co-founder of OpenAI together with Sam Altman, but he quit OpenAI. Now he's with the Tesla AI department. So what he was trying to promote was that vibe coding ni ialah what we call as this fully give in to the vibe, embrace exponentials, and then forget the code. Because all this while, when we were, if you are into programming and all that, all this while, every time you want to do some changes, you will probably go through a lot of process, repetitive process, especially with the programming code and everything. Or if you are not a coder, if you want to do something, you want to build something, you know, buat app ke, you know, buat website ke apa, you tend to rely on someone else, right? Maybe another friend who is good in programming, or you pay someone to do it and all that. So what happened is due to the emerging of LLM, they also train the LLM to be able to code, right? And you have seen so many examples now. So now the coding process becomes what they call as vibing. Maksudnya you tak payah coding tapi you vibe. You just have to tell your intention and then you build something. All right. So the core principles of vibe coding are we have three here. Express intent in natural language. Natural language means the normal language. You don't need programming languages. Normal language like Malay, English, any languages that you're comfortable with. But normally we will go for English because it's the, how to put it, the one with the largest corpus. So it's easier for the LLM to understand you. You can use other languages. I have tried many other languages, including Malay. It works quite well. It's just that it requires a bit more, another layer of translation for the LLM. You generate first, and then you refine, and then you debug later. So the whole concept of vibe learning is iterations and over perfection. If you know design thinking, this fits in well, because in design thinking, the process of empathy, define, ideate, and testing, and prototyping and testing and all this, the prototyping part is usually the part where you struggle to do it in a short time. Right? If you were to run in class, kan, prototype tu selalunya akan will take about a lot of time because you need a lot of process for coding and all that. But with vibe coding now, you can do it very fast. And because of the speed in iteration, you have more version, more improvement. Dia macam if you use a simple analogy, would be assignment. If you have an assignment, for example, recall your time as a student. If you have an assignment, tomorrow is the deadline. If you send only one version to your lecturer, highly likely that you may not get a good, may not get a good mark if you submit last minute, right? But imagine if you started earlier, you get feedback, and then you do some improvement over time. If you have a few versions of it, the chances of you getting higher marks is there because of the iteration process. Same concept here, because the faster we have the prototype out, then you get to improve. So it's the concept where we can integrate in our teaching and learning. Okay. Now this is the vibe coding in general. But why? Like I said here, accelerated prototyping, because it really speeds up the process of vibe code. If you have any idea in your mind, anything that they discuss in class, for example, if you're talking about your student, it doesn't have to be ITs, any student, if they have an idea, if they draft it out, whenever they want to do prototype, usually it will take a lot of time, right? It will take a lot of time. So with vibe coding tools now, it's easier for you, right? And also for the student. Another one is a common language. We used to struggle to learn so many programming languages. Those who are in computer science, you will know, right? I still remember how I had to struggle, from C, C hash, C++, and then you have Java. There's so many programming languages that you need to know. Eventually, everyone just kind of like give in to Python. And then now, because of all this vibe coding, you don't even need Python anymore because you can just code using English. Imagine you just coding using English, no other programming languages. So that's the beauty of vibe coding now. Anyone can just code using natural language. You don't need to struggle with all the syntax and all that. Okay. Now, because the cognitive load here, we don't have to memorize all these programming languages, syntax, all the formula, all the equation, blah blah blah, all the classes and all that. we can really concentrate more on the higher order thinking. Of course, for the computer science student, you may feel like this one is like overtaking your role in the software programming or software engineering and all that. But it also means you don't have to focus on all these small small detail lah, all this syntax. You just go straight to the problem. Okay, so maksud di sini you boleh fokus kepada masalah utama yang you nak buat with the prototype rather than the programming languages. So I think it's good because you can focus more on higher order thinking. But this can backfire as well, which we will talk about in the later session. So, but walaupun we aim for higher order thinking, even though we are trying to aim for higher order thinking, but it can also lead us to depend a lot on this vibe coding sampai ke tahap kita tak dapat nak make judgment for ourselves lagi lah. Maksudnya like for example, if you call yourself a programmer, contoh you panggil you programmer, tapi bila you are asked about all this structure, you don't know because you rely a lot on the AI tools like all these vibe coding tools. Okay, but how can we as educator harness this vibe coding process for learning lah? So all this while we are creating prototype, we are creating things for ourselves and all that. Macam mana kita nak guna for teaching and learning? How do we integrate this? Okay. Now I see the beauty of vibe coding, like I said just now, dalam concept design thinking. But design thinking is also a spillover from a more global or a more broader kind of theoretical framework lah. Can you call it theoretical? Maybe not theoretical, but it's a design framework maybe. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard of this, the backward design. Pernah dengar? Backward design ni, kita work backward. Alright, so this is also the foundation of design thinking where we have the end goal in mind. Kita dah ada sasaran kita di hujung, then we just reverse. Macam reverse engineering lah. So that's the beauty of vibe coding. Sebab bila kita suruh vibe coder tool ni to do something, we already know what we want in mind as the towards the end. Our job is to see the evidences in the process. Right? So you have your desired result, okay, apa yang you want the student to achieve and all that, and then you also have the acceptable evidences. The good thing about all these tools, nanti the later part of this session will be the demo and all that. You can compile these evidences easier dengan digital kan. Kalau dia buat dalam kelas, imagine if you are doing this in class, you probably need to compile a lot of things. Now, because it's digital, all the prompting, log, and everything, you can keep it as an evidence. Then you plan the learning experiences. What do you want them to, experience in the whole process of doing this vibe coding? If you're not familiar with backward design process, don't worry. You can spend some time to go through it. But just to let you know, in Malaysia, our curriculum, I think almost all our curriculum is based on backward design. Because we always set the LO first, that is the end goal, and then we try to reverse engineer, then we plan the unit, right? It's very rare for us to plan the unit first, and then we go for the LO or the learning outcome. It's always the learning outcome first, then we decide what to include in the units and what are the things that we want to assess to gain the evidence. All right, so it's by Wiggins and McGuire. You can also check on their work, but what I want to tell you is vibe coding make this process easier, so you can integrate it in your teaching and learning lah, right? Then I also realized people are talking about AI is killing higher order thinking. Actually, with AI, we need to flip the whole concept. Because all this while, we always think like the creating as on the top, the small one. Because when you put a pyramid, a small triangle means sikit, right? More memory, more remembering and all that. And then creating is a little bit. But once we have all these vibe coding tools, all these AI tools, patutnya we flip. Because we'll be creating a lot. You see every single day, everyone is creating something now. Video, image, macam-macam, comic lah, apa. Every day you see people creating. That means Bloom taxonomy is flip. Because no more that you are remembering the fact, whatever, you are creating a lot of things, kan? Kita buat all this thing. So what we need to do is, we need to allow creation to happen. And then at the same time, we are going to promote evaluation, kemudian analysis and semua tu, then we slowly go down. Contoh, if you have created something, instead of, just stop there, you can reverse. Okay, like for example, let's look at your product now or your output now. What are the principles that you are applying? Then we go down, applying, right? Okay, this principle, then the student say this. Maybe you don't really, you don't really get what is this principle, but let's revisit the principle again. Then you go to understanding. Student tak faham juga ada principle. Then you have to drill them the remembering process. So it becomes a reverse. I hope you get what I'm trying to say lah. Dulu kita try to force them to memorize all this theory, blah blah blah, baru buat. Tapi because AI dah pandai buat all this, kita reverse lah. So we ask AI to help students create or iterate what all this artifact we call it. Then we reverse engineer. So we try to identify what are the principles, what are the elements that they don't understand. Bila dia buat output tu, bila kita suruh terang, dia tak faham. Then we know there's something missing there. They do not know how to apply certain concept, or they do not know how to apply certain skills that you have taught them. You get what I mean? So dia macam start with the end in mind, kemudian reverse. Macam bawa kereta, langgar tiang, lepas tu reverse balik. Alright, so but it's easier for you to do it now because all this AI tool, not just vibe coding lah, but today's sample is more on the vibe coding. So I say it here, the work is not easier actually. It's just different. The level of difficulty, if you put it as C6, for example, the highest element in Bloom taxonomy is still C6. It's just that you reverse the whole process, or the whole flow or the experience is a bit different. The work is still as challenging as it is. All right. You get what I mean? Dia tak adalah kata bila the moment we have AI, the moment we have vibe coding, it becomes totally easier. Not really, right? Those of you who have tried this in your teaching, you will know. Just because you have AI now with ChatGPT, it doesn't mean that it's easier. The task can be look straightforward, very straightforward, but it may not be simplified, right? Can still be quite challenging. All right. So this is the flip Bloom taxonomy that I kind of think would be useful when we talk about vibe coding kind of approach. Okay. Now those are the early introduction. These are all theoretical explanation first before we jump straight to to something that you can do. Now, this is what I propose in doing vibe learning. I do not want to go to the basic instructional design lah. Maksudnya contoh like setting of the learning outcome, everything that's clear, right? But I want you to kind of remember that every time you want to use vibe coding in teaching and learning, you have to remember this VIBE juga. First is visibility, which I will explain later on. Then we need to have interdependence. Kita kena ada interdependence. Then something that I realized, we need to have bounded prompting. Bounded prompting ni maksudnya prompting tu tak boleh bebas sangat. We need to kind of control sikit dia punya prompting mechanism, right? Then we have evaluation, which is the typical ending of a cycle of learning. Lepas kita mengajar, kita kena evaluate lah. We need to evaluate whether the learning has taken place. Now, it may sound technical that this is only applicable in higher education. Actually, you can apply it as low as even primary school. It's just that the level or the language is a bit different lah. Huh? I mean, in terms of the way you instruct your student will be simpler. Okay. Now let's go to visibility. What I mean by visibility ni. Visibility means you have to have a shared awareness of prompt, edits, and all this meaning. Everything has to be visible. So you kena pilih satu tool, which we will talk about later on juga, yang everything is transparent. Dia tak boleh kata you pilih satu tool yang sorang-sorang buat, nobody can see what you're doing. Right? One example now, which is a lot of people are using, is for example Canva AI. Right? It's a very powerful Canva code and AI which integrates actually using Claude. Dia guna Claude punya 3.7 Sonnet punya engine LLM. But if you realize when you code something in Canva AI at the moment, it's only you can see it. Right? Unless you share it in a design or something, right? If it's a shared design or shared website, then only you can add your friends into the design. But when you are doing the process of prompting and all that, largely alone. So that means that tool may not be feasible for this vibe coding activity or vibe coding assessment if you want to make it as an assessment lah, right? So you can fikir dulu how to make sure that it's transparent. We will see later on. Huh? Then why do we need to do this? Because if it's transparent, means maksudnya visible to all, you actually prevent silent freeloading. Dia akan mengurangkan masalah pelajar tidak melibatkan diri, lack of participation from your student will be kind of not really, may not be 100% solved, but you are solving it, you're reducing it. All right. And regardless of their technical background. Okay, we'll see some sample later on. So for example, here, if let's say you insist on using Canva AI, for example, one example, where it's very solo, very individual kind of style, then you need to have a prompt log. Prompt log can be done on Google Doc, on Padlet, whatever, where a place the team or the group will create, and then every single prompt they do or they create, dia kena share kat dalam tu. If the group has 5 people, right, 5 people, all 5 will share the prompt that they use in this whole process. Okay, you know what I'm trying to do here lah. I'm trying to reverse my. I try to explain all this dulu, then baru kita tunjuk that thing. But hopefully you bear with me lah. So because kalau kita tak benarkan the student to share all the prompt, you won't know what they did, right? And then eventually you just evaluate the outcome or the product, which to me may not be meaningful because the outcome can be done by one person, right? There are the 5 dalam group tu. We have 5 people in the group, but only one person is doing it. You don't know because there's no transparency in the prompting process, right? So you need to come up with a mechanism where in your instruction, you clearly ask them to keep a log. If you do this in class, it's even better. If you have a group of 5 in the class, someone is having the computer as the main part where they will do the prompting. Everyone can just write on a piece of paper, right? The prompt that they'll do. If you don't want to use a piece of paper, then you can discuss first. Do like a, like a sticky note where they write all your prompt and then share. Then they start prompting, all right, to the vibe coder tools, right? Then you also need to have roles. This is what I realized. So if you want to apply vibe coding process in teaching and learning, similar in terms of all the process where you go out there, when you work in teams, everyone must have a role, right? It can be multidisciplinary if you are mixing people. If you are a mix of discipline, it's fine. If it's all from the same program or all from the same course, then they will have to pick what role do they want to play, right? So that we can avoid the solo prompter as well, because we need to rely on each other's capability or expertise. So someone can be in charge of prompting only about UI. Someone can be in charge of the whole function. Someone can be the tester, right? His prompt is just to test. Another one is just to provide content. So everyone has a role to play when it comes to the prompting process. And then eventually they work together to come up with a proper one. So this is vibe coding kind of concept. Never mind. Once you see the sample, then you get to see the whole picture. Ni macam main puzzle sikit. Go pieces, and then we try to cantumkan everything. Now, the B, so we have VIB now. The bounded prompting that I meant here are what I realized when we do this kind of vibe coding, if you don't have certain kind of limit, or I call it guardrails, student will just randomly, just prompt anything, or sometimes they just direct copy some prompt somewhere, or they go to ChatGPT, they ask ChatGPT to come up with a prompt, and then they just copy the prompt from ChatGPT, put it into the tool and all that. Basically, there's no thinking process going on because they just want it to be done, because you allow them to be, a bit freer. So you do whatever they want. Like, for example, you ask them to make a website, right? It's too broad, right? When you give them that kind of instruction, make a website for this topic and all that, it's too broad and they can just do anything. So most likely they will just copy and paste some prompt and all that and then just get it done. But the moment you have certain limitation or constraint, the bounded territory or the prompting, like you shouldn't do this, or your website should have this, they have to think first. Because there's so many things going on. So the limitation going on, they have to think, like strategize, right? Okay, I need to do this, and then you do that, we do that, because everyone's going to take charge of the component. If you just say make a website, I can do it alone. I get it done, finish, I submit. So that the vibe coding is not happening. The collaboration is not really happening. Okay. Then the E, of course, is evaluation. Then I think we know from the beginning, kalau kita buat vibe coding as an activity or a vibe learning process, we don't measure the output alone. More portion should be given to the process, right? The process, because we want the accountability of the quality of the work and also the learning process. The key is actually learning process. So even though the outcome is very, very, intriguing, But when you check the log, they only prompt maybe one. Suddenly they submit to you a very perfect prototype. You might know that something is not right. Probably they hire someone or they pay someone to do it, then they just submit. But when you check the log, only two prompt and the prompt doesn't show any nice interface, for example, then you know that they are not being transparent or accountable to the whole process of learning. They just submit the output for you. Because if your rubrics is measuring only the output, maksudnya you bagi markah tinggi only for output, then they will do this. But if you give more marks for the process, then they know they have to keep track of the whole learning process. They need to understand what they're doing. They need to keep a log of everything, do reflection and all that. Then they'll be more aware because they know that you will be awarding marks for that more than the output. Get what I mean, kan? So the portion should be more on the progress lah. I can sense that if you really do this, you will have more work because of the process. But I think you will feel the satisfaction seeing the outcome because you will have students coming to you saying that I learned so much from the course because they value the process more than the output because they suddenly realize, oh, the whole process make them become even more creative or more critical in coming up with the project outcome. Okay, so you can also do reflection like this lah. Kalau nak lah kan, this is just sample. Later on I'll give you the slides. So this is one example. How do you apply it in a vibe-based class? I will go through this one like 3, then we will go to the hands-on. You can use any tools that you want. This example here, oh salah ni, they supposed to be tak ada 3 here. Sambung kat sini. Lovable. Lovable pun tak boleh. Okay, let me just correct this before you get confused. Right, let me typo when you enter. Okay, so back to the screen. So when you, how to put it, when you ask them to do something, you have to give them the real world problem first. And this is one example about creating a green campus navigator. It can be for anything, engineering course or whatever course you're teaching, but this is a sample. Visitors and students often cannot find recycling points or energy saving tips around campus. You give them a problem, right? You give them a problem, then you give them the outcome. This is why I say backward design. You start with the end goal, but the alignment, everything, this one, you don't have to tell them actually. This is just your guide, but you tell them the outcome. You want a mobile app that shows nearby recycling bins and suggests eco-friendly action. This is a very simple example that you can do in class actually. It doesn't have to be an assignment. It can be a testing that you do in class. You can also link to SDG if you want to. If you are linking it with Sustainable Development Goal, boleh juga link. Now, what happens is you need to tell them, you may not need to use this, ya. Tak perlu guna visibility independent. This is just for your knowledge. When you give the rubric or instruction to your student, you can make it easier lah. For example, make sure you start a prompt log in Google Doc, add me in and everything, and then assign role to everyone. One can be data collector, one be copywriter, another one be UI curator. You set the role, right, for every group member. Let them pick. You can do an Excel and then ask them to, or Google Sheet, ask them to fill in their names and everything. Then set a constraint. This is where I called by bounded prompting just now, kan? Only use color from the university, and then label bin is English and Malay. So you want it to be matching the university, branding and all that. So they use the color from the university. So at least they have to think, oh, how do I do this? If I just prompt like that, would that happen? Or can I use a button or whatever? So they have to think, right? Then evaluation will be peer demo plus a 300-word reflection if you want them to also reflect on the whole process. Depends, right? This is just a sample step. You can change this. You can use other tools. You can ask them to do something else, as long as the whole point is vibe coding. Everyone has to work together to complete a task. But the outcome, everyone is doing the same outcome, but with different variation. Now, even if you give this gun the same outcome, give it to 10 groups, you will see 10 variation. That's the beauty of all these vibe coder tools or vibe coding assistant. You can get 10 different things because they free flow of idea. Okay, so the focus is on the sitemap, everything, not really on syntax. So because AI is helping them, right? This is another example. Maybe this is for engineering, kind of. Yeah, rural communities need a quick way to model solar battery. Let's say you are teaching them about renewable energy. The topic dia tu adalah renewable energy, and then one of the focus is about solar battery. Instead of just drill them on the solar-reactive component, these are the thing, blah, 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 you reverse. Ask them to create with something first, and then you reverse engineer, teach them the concept behind it. So at least they know what happened first by creating a prototype that everyone can try, and then you reverse. Kenapa yang tu tak jadi? Kenapa that solar dashboard that you did ada tu tak betul? The equation is wrong. That gives more critical discussion in the class rather than you flip through the textbook, teaching them all the concept first. Okay, this is one example here lah. So the outcome is you want a browser-based tool where users slide three input. So the other slider, panel size, battery capacity, and daily load, and view a real-time energy balance graph. Ni kalau dia tak faham konsep tu, even if you put it into the vibe coder tu, dia akan keluar, they could be wrong, right? Because if they have not learned all this in your class, they cannot do it well. I mean, mobily, they can still consult AI to do it, but you can always question them, why is it like that? How does panel size correlates with the daily load? If they cannot answer, that means they don't understand the concept. That's where I told you just now, the bloom yang terbalik itu, turun lah. You start with creating first, then you realize you don't, then you turun, apply. You bagi some concept to apply, they don't understand, then you have to go down to understand level. You know what I mean? So instead of going from bottom up, you go from top down lah, macam reverse. Okay, and this is one example. You can do prompt log in Trello atau Padlet kalau you tak nak guna Google Doc, as long as there's one place where semua orang boleh contribute to the prompt. Alright, so this is decision lah. Kalau you jenis yang mengajar them some basic about JavaScript, you can also set this. Kalau tak, then you can buang, set other things like gonna make use of certain principles and all that. Okay, this one sama lah, just for you to see. This one is for communication. People always ask me, all these social sciences, language communication, boleh ke buat coding? Boleh. Like my class pun, I always start with something prototype dulu, baru kita reverse. Even though I'm teaching them, for example, computational linguistics, sometimes I'm teaching them some academic English pun sama. Because kalau you ajar academic English, for example, kan, you'll be drilling them with the academic structure, APA and all that. Why don't you reverse? Ask them to do a prototype where can automate APA citation. Because in order for the APA citation automator to work, they need to understand APA. Kalau tak, how do they do it, right? So you see where I'm getting here. For vibe coding, you reverse, you go up first, and then you reverse, right? So like in academic writing, anything can be done, right? So this is one example for communication. Contoh, you just taught them about strategic communication principle, but instead of drilling them more on the strategic comm punya principle as a quiz, you reverse. You kata, why don't we do this? Brands must issue clear and channel-specific statement within minutes of a reputational crisis. Yet, junior communicators often freeze and waffle. That means, every time kalau ada something to the brand kan, the brand need to release a statement quite fast. Kalau lambat nanti orang petikai, all these cases lah, all this crisis management kind of thing. So this is part of Stratcom, right? So your outcome is you want a browser-based dashboard where the user pastes a one-sentence incident brief, and then instantly receives suggested holding statement for social media platform. So you ask them to create, why don't we create a dashboard where kalau you are the social media manager, you just input saja the incident, the tool that you create using all these vibe coding assistant can give you suggestion of the posting that you can do. Menarik kan? I mean for them lah. So they will be thinking, oh macam mana nak buat ni? So they will use this vibe coder, they keluar, and then we can start discussing. Why is your statement like that? How did you prompt? What kind of thing that you insert to the prompting process and all that? So it allows really higher order thinking because they really need to evaluate what are they doing with the with the vibe coder. Okay, now this is the sample activity kan. This is a sample outcome. So nampak macam ni. So this is one output of vibe coding. So they use the situation just now. Dia keluarkan yang ni. So you see this sample here. You just put the incident brief, food poisoning at one of the branch. Then they generate holding statement. Dia keluarkan holding statement for Twitter, Facebook, and all that. So this become a first version of the prototype. Then you can ask every group, let's test each other's prototype and give comments. What do you think? What is wrong with this holding statement? Can it be improved? If you want to improve, what are the principles that can you use that we have learned from strategic com? You can see the discussion flowing rather than strategic com principle contain we need they don't see it, right? They can't imagine it because dia tak ada benda yang concrete for them to apply what they have learned. So you reverse engineer, let them see the outcome first, the output first, then kita teach the principle, right? You want to try this later on, can lah. But maybe we can do it together. This are some of the vibe coding tools. I sengaja tu guys ke belakang. There are many. I'm pretty sure you have seen some. I would say about 60 to 70% rely on Claude AI's engine. Everyone is paying Anthropic. Claude punya coding, sebab Claude punya coding memang bagus. So most of the vibe coding tool relies on Claude Code punya engine, which is either Sonnet 3.7, 4.0, or the Opus, the current one. Only very few uses OpenAI. OpenAI, ChatGPT, GPT 4.5 and 4.1 punya API. But out of all this, the one that I prefer and I have tested many times with groups and all that is this thing called Lovable. I'm pretty sure you have heard of, some of you have heard of this. But why Lovable? Not just because it's free at the moment, not just free, like even though they are limit 5 messages. What I like about Lovable is how easy it is to collaborate, because you can add your friends into the same workspace and then everyone can work together with your Lovable project. So it makes it easier for collaborative work. So you are not coding alone. You can add everyone in and anyone can contribute to the process. So let's go to Lovable Dev now. What I want you to do, maybe I'll just share this. Let me just share this slide. Yeah. Those of you who just joined, don't worry. I know you're lost, but you can review the channel, the recording later on. But let me just share the slide. Sekejap, I share the slide. Okay, wait for you to load. But what I want you to do is actually, you can try to go to Lovable, kalau belum ada, Lovable. Register an account, because this is more like a sharing of this. The slide is in the chat, yeah. Kalau you can download. Let me go to Lovable sekejap. The slide is in the chat so that you can just copy this. So this is Lovable. All right. If you are new to this Lovable, you can just register an account first. Just go to Google. All right. Let me just sign out. Just sign out first. This is the part where I will demo to you what is the, all this benefit lah. But if you have question, please feel free to put in the chat kalau ada soalan. Just in case you are lost, you don't know what's happening. Just go to, okay. Now, what is so special about Lovable, even though there are many variations of this, so many people have different types of variation. What I like is because it's still free at the moment and it allows seamless sharing directly, okay? Things you need to know before you even try vibe coding with your student is for you to be familiar with the platform first, the limitation and all that. All vibe coding assistant at the moment has limit for free account. Most tools go by limit of chat 5 times. Meaning kalau you prompt kat dalam ni, you can prompt 5 times daily. Sehari 5 kali, right? Prompting untuk do something lah. But lately, there are some tools like CodeDev and all this. They go by dollar. Every month, they will give you a certain credit, like 500 credit, whatever. Then you use the credit. And that one is very fastly out because 1 month, you have to wait quite some time. Only Lovable and Bolt allow you to like daily reload, but Bolt has a problem with the premium feature. So they will not allow you to use certain premium feature, but at least in Lovable you can still do most of the things lah. Okay, so you register an account, log in. You have to log in. Just use Google or GitHub. If you have GitHub, then join using GitHub. And this applies to everyone. Ya, tak semestinya you mengajar coding. You are not going to do this. Your student will be doing this. But before you ask your student to do this, you need to be familiar. You also need to demonstrate to them so that they are aware. My second semester student now, the second cohort, they are doing this at the moment. One of their assessment. So they have to develop a solution based on the scenario that I gave them. I have about 6 scenarios. They can choose any scenario. but they have to come up with a solution using Lovable. I specify only Lovable lah to make it consistent to all. You can ask them to use other tools if you want to. All right. Now, what happened here is kalau you pergi ke Lovable, if you are using free account, you will see the 5 messages here. Mine is not. This one is pro. You can see that because of the tool. But if you are free, you have 5. Now, bila kata 5 messages, when we say 5 messages, don't waste the messages because the message can be as long as you want. Okay, let me show you a sample first. So you have to tell student, jangan bazir the messages. So tengok ni, this one that I show you just now, the sample I gave you just now, it's this message, one whole message ni. This is counted as one message. So by using one message, if you clearly describe what you want, you will get the outcome here already. And I have not chat the second time. This is only one chat, right? For example, if you want to beta test this is like a testing. This one is a crisis communication dashboard, right? Based on situation 3 in the slides, the example 3 I gave you. Let's say there's a rat near the restaurant or there's near the cafe lah, for example. Just give an incident and then you generate holding statement. Holding statement is for for people to stop spreading first. Okay, and then these are the statement. Okay, now of course there's no evaluation going on. This is first cycle. Then you can continue with the second cycle. You ask student to check what's wrong with all these statements. Then you can prompt the second time. Ask them to improve. If you are doing this in class, if you do this as a project, then all the team members need to evaluate each other's work because they can invite their friends here, right? They can just collaborate, then come up with the checking of all this, checking the code and the prompt and everything and see whether it works. For example, here, it's not following what you have taught them. What you can do adalah, you can say, oh, you are not following the principle that we learned in class. All right. Okay, for example, here, this is just an example because I don't really know what specific principle that is there. Let's say after you get the feedback, this is the student's first version. Lepas tu dia tanya kawan dia kata, oh, you're not following the principle. Then they can do the vibe coding process again to improve. So they can say, like, for example, please ensure all statements follow the strategic communication principles. Kalau ada specific one, better lah. This is just a sample. So they just enter. This is wasting one message ya. By right, kalau boleh panjang sikit lah kan. Elaborate lagi so that you tak payah waste the message. Then automatically you will see Lovable trying to improve your first version. Now you have your second version of the prototype. Okay, so student will be doing this lah, bukan you. You are teaching student to use this vibe coding process. All right. Let it load first. Okay, let's say it's done. So you can test again. Let's say fire in a warehouse. I use the sample. See whether it's following, right? So then you generate. Okay, let's say if something is good now, so you can proceed. All right. Now, once you are done with all this process, and then the students are already happy with all of it, then they can publish. So they can just update this and then share as a working prototype. No database yet because it's not linked to any database yet. But the moment they submit, they will submit maybe a short reflection. You ask them to do reflection and then letak the link to this working app. So they can just send this and then you can evaluate. Not just this lah. Of course, they have to submit the prompt log just now. All this prompt. Keep it somewhere. They have to copy all this prompt and keep it somewhere so you can also see the prompt. Or if you don't want them to waste the time copying the prompt and everything, they can just add you to the group. Just add you into the group, then you can see the whole process. That's what I did actually. The student will invite me to their workspace, and then I can evaluate what they're doing. Not the coding actually. It's what kind of question did they ask. Let's say if I'm teaching strategic comm and I have taught them the principle, I don't see them putting any principle there, then I will know that they don't really understand right? I mean, in a way, like they just let the AI conquer everything because they are not interfering with the AI output. But the moment you see something like, oh, I don't think this is right. This is the principle that you should be following. These are some examples that we want. Then you see that the level of thinking is going up because they know that what AI is giving them is wrong. Because of the prototype iteration, it makes it easier to see the whole learning process. All right. So what you can do now, you go to the slide, copy this, but you change this. You can try and change this. Maybe I'm going to demonstrate one sample for you here. Let's try this. I'm going to copy this. You can go to the slide I put in the chat. Yeah. If you can't download it, let me know. You just copy this. All right. Copy this. If you can't, maybe I'll just put it in the chat lah. I don't know whether the thing is maybe it's a bit messy in the chat, but I'll just put it there. If you can copy, you copy. It's a bit lengthy. Now you go to Lovable. All right, you go to Lovable. Let's go to a new project. Go to dashboard. Paste it here. Okay. Now you can see the pasting is with the thing. Okay, you have to change this. Design a simple mobile app maybe for university student. Let's say the contact is manage their assignment easily. So you can just change up to your creativity. All right. Then the prototypes will include. Okay, this is where we call the bounded prompting just now. You kind of set the boundary so that when they prompt, they know what to change. What I give you is actually a template. By right, the students need to write this on their own. But I'm giving you a sample template. These are the expected thing that they would normally do. But the template will change according to your requirement. Contoh, you want them to use certain color lah, certain logo lah, whatever, or you want them to make sure that there are 3 principles applied, you just list up. Make sure you follow these 3 principles. So they will try to follow the 3 principles lah. Okay. So let's say I put here 2 main features, such as bagi ini assignment tracker, and let's say another one is deadline reminder. Contoh lah kan. Okay, then a clear failure layout for students. Okay, then so you can give the name if you want to. The student usually will give their own name before they put here. You can also ask Lovable to suggest. Let's say I'm a bit lazy, so I will just ask Lovable to do it. Okay, let's see. What you can do is you try the same thing, then you publish and then you share your link in the chat. Can you do that? Just try. Just copy the prompt, change a bit, and then let Lovable do it for you. You publish and then you share your link. Yeah. Let me wait for this to be done and then I'll share mine. Okay. My reason is just to see that even though everyone is kind of using the same scenario, the same context, the beauty of all this vibe coding tool is it allows different iteration. You get a variety of design, variety of sample and all that. It makes the whole process more engaging because students will be getting excited to show their prototype. Oh, ours is better. We have this, you have that and all that because it becomes very tangible. Kan? Konsep-konsep yang abstract tu, yang selalu kita ajar abstract tu, it's very hard to imagine. So once they see the output, then they realize, oh, this is how I apply this principle in this kind of context. At least there's some form of application going on while creating something. Alright, so boleh cuba, try. Those of you who can lah, yang guna phone tu susah sikit. Kalau ada tu, you can just copy the prompt I give in the chat, and then pergi lovable.dev ni, if you can register an account, and then let it work for you lah sekejap. Okay, Lovable sedang bekerja keras ni for mine. I don't know about yours. Okay. Sekejap. If you are done, you can just share yours so that I can show yours as well. Quite a number of you here, about 20 plus of you. I mean, kalau if you want to do your own coding like this, usually will take a few hours lah. Now it's going to be a couple of minutes. Even though now a couple of minutes feels forever, but yeah, we can still be patient for that lah. Masih boleh bersabar lah kalau less than 10 minutes ke 15 minutes. Kalau sampai berjam-jam tu maybe no lah, right? Okay, so wait for it to finish and then we will kind of see whether it fulfills what we want lah. If you're done, you can share yours. Anyone dah siap ke? Belum. You can just copy the sample I gave you lah tu. You just change the apa nama? Uh, details a bit. Tukar sikit lah. Kalau nak buat benda lain pun boleh. You can also do other context. Now dia dah edited 6. Okay, bila dah siap, once it's done, you will hear the sound lah. But where is mine? Oh, dia tengah loading. Okay, wait. See? So I will have the first iteration of the sample. Of course, it can be a mobile style. You can do the same, like I said, in Canva AI and all that. One reason why Canva AI is not that powerful yet is because of the collaborative feature lah. Kan? In Lovable, you can still collaborate. If you want to use Canva AI, for example, the Canva code can, but everyone will be sharing the same kind of browser or loading or login, then everyone work together physically. If they are working remotely, then it's a bit harder. Okay, so that's why I still prefer Lovable when it comes to vibe coding punya activity. So now what they do is they will have to check whether the features they are proposing here, all right, fulfill the requirement lah, depending on your requirement. Let's say you really want them to learn all this in terms of creating, let's say UI or UX, you're teaching them about how to put it, how to structure and all that, then you evaluate on that. Okay, so I think this one quite easily done. You see, in a couple of minutes, you can have a very nice app. In fact, if you really spend time on it, you can create a full app. It's not even a prototype anymore. It can be a full app by doing the iteration and changing and all this. Okay, so this is a sample of the thing lah. Okay, let's see. Fatina dah share one there. Let me see here. Once you are done, by the way, I forgot. Once you are done, let's say the student have done, they're happy with the iteration and everything. They just have to click publish. Now, if you see this name is long like this, kalau nampak panjang ni, you can edit it here dulu. Edit it here first. Rename the project. Here, go to the button here, you rename the project first before you publish. All right? But because they don't limit by account, you can see the name, dia tak limit by account. Usually it's very hard to get the name that you want because it has been taken. So you have to be more creative lah. That's why nama dia macam panjang-panjang sikit because how to put it? Too many people are taking the name, so you kena creative sikit lah. Unless you pay for your own domain. Kalau you nak bayar untuk guna domain sendiri, go ahead lah. But this one no need lah. Okay, this is why Fazina buat pasal the VARK tu. Nampak? Okay, you got the visual start, assessment. Ni more like a quiz style lah, kan? So this one, I simply click lah. Testing saja. Okay, done. Nampak? Auditory. So let's say you're teaching this. Nampak macam apa? Kenapa I kena apply this kan? Let's say you are teaching them about all these different types of learning preferences, or some people call it learning styles. The VARK. You want to teach them about that. So before you go into detail about VARK, then you ask them to build something like this first. Buat dulu satu prototype. How do you evaluate a person learning style, or how do you evaluate a person punya learning preference? So dia kena tahu lah kan, apa tu auditory, apa tu visual, baru dia boleh buat. So when they do it, then you reverse. Ni nampak macam salah. Contoh lah kan. After that, why auditory have to do this, for example? Then you can fix it with them. So the learning become more meaningful because they get to try and error their idea and then they can run it again. So kalau salah kat sini, they can just go back to the prompt and ask Lovable, please change this. This is wrong, alright, or blah blah blah. Okay, let's see. Itu Zaini punya. Ada satu lagi ni, 3. I have 3. If you have done, you can just share. Don't be shy. Or Run Sense. Ni running companion. Cantik ni. Interface pun cantik. So you can see it's quickly done. Tapi of course, some buttons are not functional yet. You can see this is the first version. That's why I like this vibe coding, because when you give a first version to your friends, they will be able to give you comment. You know, like this one, kenapa tak boleh click and all that, or why is it like this? Then they was you can prompt again. Make sure all buttons are clickable. For tracking, what do you put? For setting, what do you put? For profile, what do you put? So the iteration, the vibe coding process become more meaningful. All right. So this is about the first version. Belum lagi version 2, version 3 and all that. So you will get them excited to add more things into the prototype, right? And learn also what to include based on the learning principle that you're teaching them. Okay. Maybe last one. Student savvy spend or spending in Azla ni. Alright, ni dah berapa app dah Azla? Mesti dah beribu-ribu app you buat kan. Let's get started. Yeah, this is the spending tracker. Usually kalau you nak buat this kind of spending tracker memang lama lah kan. Now you can just add your ni. Then this one category entertainment, then add expense. Right, then you have the total spend up here, the summary and everything. Nice kan? Ni kalau nak buat, if you want to do it on your own with a normal coder, will probably take a few days juga kalau yang tak pandai coding or phobia dengan coding. Now with a simple lovable prompt, you can create something like this. Cuma I think for this sample, you might want to add the prompt, make it mobile size. Sebab now is dia tak auto tukar ke mobile size. Dia masih dalam size, the browser size. Okay? Because I think kalau dalam phone cantik lah, tapi dalam browser dia dah macam ni. Kalau you tengok yang tadi ni, yang Dr. Ruzaini ni memang dah dia dah set, it's a mobile size, mobile app to version. Okay? Alright, so this is lovable. You can explore the whole concept here. Of course, you're not going to do this on your own. You are going to ask your student to do it. But before you ask your student to do it, at least you familiarize yourself with all this. And what I like is, like I said, you can try all this. The whole prompting and learning become visible. You know the first V is now visibility tu. Sebab bila you tekan the history and all this, you will see the whole process. Like right now only satu lah, kan? Because I only prompt two. So the history is trackable. Dia macam log everything. But if you are scared that you can't view this, you can ask them to export all this or copy this to another platform like Google Doc or Padlet or Notion or whatever. What they need to do is, contoh today, the date, who, let's say today, Chokiman, this is my prompt. And then next day or the same day, who else is prompting? Because everyone is working on the same project. They are not working individually. Yeah. Everyone is contributing to the same thing. That's vibe learning process. It's not about asking you to work individually, but how do you work collaboratively as a team? Okay. Right. It can apply to any kind of context. It doesn't have to be in engineering, science, or whatever. Even in languages, like I said, you can just create something relevant to languages. They can still learn the process of appreciating all the strategies or whatever. Boleh ya? Okay. Anything you want to ask? So this is lovable. There are other tools in the slide. In the slide, I gave you a few samples here. VO is also quite good, but they charge by the dollar credit. Bolt is also by messages. But if you are talking about user friendliness, I think Lovable is still okay. It's comparable to, of course, Canva. Just that Canva, like I said, the feature is not collaborative yet. But once they make it collaborative and you can view the code and everything, Canva AI will be really, really powerful because it's so easy to integrate with other things that they have. At the moment, if you're doing vibe coding, the preferred tool would be the Lovable. I would go for Lovable, right? But you can try other things. The cursor is a bit more technical. You need to install it in your software, which students don't really like. They prefer the web-based one. Okay, all right. So they are not really creating app just for the sake of creating app or mobile or website or whatever. Vibe coding for vibe learning is basically asking them to turn something that they learn in an abstract manner to a more concrete version macam app and prototype. So dia nampak apa yang dia dah belajar, turn it into a very tangible thing, and then you proceed with teaching them other concept or principles. Okay, this is the template tadi lah. Any question tak until now? Just in case, before I proceed, because you are almost an hour plus now. Yeah, about a few minutes to go. Any question? So if you were to try, um how to put it, if you were to try vibe coding, you probably do it as an activity first, right? Then turn it into assessment. Jangan terus bagi dia sebagai assessment lah, because I think it can be a risk. Kan, it can be a risk kalau kita terus jadikan assessment, nanti student jadi anxiety punya syndrome. Rizwan ada ni. Rizwan dia bagi juga. Social step. Wow, looks very professional. And then beginner. Nampak, this is take your time to explore social interaction at your own pace. Well, it's very, very related to social interaction kan. Build your social confidence, practice eye contact. Nice. Ni berapa minit buat ni? Looks very nice and clean, right? And you see the beauty of all this kind of thing ialah, apart from they learn the concept, they can also learn about how to make the user understand, how to make the user understand what they want to present, or how they want what they want to learn lah, what you want them to learn. So that's the benefit of all this process. Kita boleh guna ChatGPT, or ada yang cakap, yes, you can. So what happened is like this. That's why I said the bounded prompting tadi tu, bila you ask your student to do this, you can always plan it dulu di ChatGPT. Contoh kan, okay, let's demo lah, since ada orang tanya. Student usually will do this too, because they want to save the credit ni kan ada 5 saja, 5. You don't want to waste your daily message tu. What you can do is you use ChatGPT like a brainstorming punya. I go for 4.0 lah, like a brainstorming punya session lah. Kalau in my case, I will do 2 types. One, the brainstorming will have to take place physically without AI first. No AI in the class dulu. So they brainstorm dulu. Based on the scenario, they brainstorm dulu. Okay, kita nak buat ni. Siap. So they do like a rough mind map ke apa dulu. Then they will go to ChatGPT ke Gemini ke mana-mana tu yang dia suka. Based on the initial idea, they will have to ask, like, let's say we want to develop an app for, dia bagi reason dia, and then the app should contain 1, 2, 3. So dia bagi apa yang dibincangkan tu, yang no AI tadi kan, sesi dalam kelas tu dia dah bincang list, dia bagi contohlah, let's say should contain homepage. Ni contoh mudah lah kan. Sepatutnya dia have to elaborate lah. Feature 1 and feature 2. Let's say maybe another one is profile page kan. Help us craft a useful prompt, effective prompt boleh for lovable dev, contoh. Okay. So dia akan bagi sampel. Now normally what I tell my student adalah, bila you ask ChatGPT ke apa tu tolong you macam ni, you kena share juga. They have to copy this, share ke dalam prompt log tu. Sebab kita nak tahu juga apa dia tanya ChatGPT, because that helps us to understand dia punya thinking process. Kalau you tengok dia copy bulat-bulat your instruction dalam ni, nampaklah dia tak faham. You know what I mean? Dia copy bulat-bulat your instruction. Kalau yang ni you nampak yang dia is based on their discussion in the class kan. So at least there's another layer of learning. So they can use this ataupun use this, and in fact ChatGPT is very nice lah. You can see, would you like me to generate a few more ideas and all that? So that helps them to think juga, okay, betul juga, maybe I should do this. So they will prompt. Dah puas hati, then they will just copy this, go to Lovable. So it save the prompting punya ni kan. Or if they encounter something here, because they don't want to waste the message per day, they can go back to ChatGPT. We encounter this problem. We wanted to do this, but it doesn't work. What should we prompt? Beza kan? Dia bukan copy paste ni. Dia sedang bertanya soalan. Sepatutnya dia tanya Lovable lah, because they want to save time. So they bukan save time, save the messages. Then they can use both way. Terpulang kepada kreativiti pelajar. What I like is when you do this kind of activity, they become more alert about the requirement, because they want the output to match. Dia nak output to match their kehendak. So kalau ChatGPT tak bagi what they want, they will keep on macam try to improve lah. They themselves will do the changes. Alright? Okay, so boleh try lah nanti ya. Nanti kalau try tu share juga lah. I want to know your implementation juga, right? So those of you that try. Okay, so I just want to share some implementation consideration lah, something yang kita boleh consider masa kita implement ni. Kalau you use as an assessment, kalau kita gunakan benda ni sebagai pentaksiran ataupun penilaian, you really need to switch the focus more on the process. Value the process more. Walaupun dia nampak banyak kerja, sebenarnya if you ask them to do the log in a systematic manner, if you can even create a template kalau nak. You can have a template where they will be able to put their name, the time, and then the prompt block. Or kalau malas sangat nak copy, they can just share the screenshot. So at least you have a systematic way of compiling the evidence. So it makes it easier for you to mark rather than you yang kena deal with different type of template lah contoh, because you need to value the process more. This is a sample lah. I'm not saying that this you must follow this. This is just an example. For example, you can focus more on 40% on how they prompt and how they curate tu. How do they compile? Sebab ada contoh 4-5 orang dalam tu. Siapa yang prompt pasal ni and all that, you can see, right? Who are doing which part, who is dominant and all that. So at least you can see whether the collaboration is going on. How do they kumpulkan barang, curate, siapa yang pergi tanya ChatGPT and all that. So you have more marks for that because you value the process more. Then 30% can go for final product and also 30% can go to critical reflection. Sebenarnya reflection ni tak payah tunggu di hujung. You can do it progressively. Maybe like evidence of learning from the process, as in there's a checkpoint. Kalau assignment, you bagi as a project, you give them let's say 4 weeks, you can have a weekly checkpoint. So setiap checkpoint tu, kalau dia dah siapkan whatever prompt or whatever bahagian, they just have to report lah. So you have 4 weeks of log. Kalau you want them to be 4 weeks. What I mean here is it doesn't have to be at the end of the process. It can be progressive. Mine tengah jalan ni. So kalau if we have the chance to meet again in another session for this kind of thing, I will share my student punya whole experience and the process. I have about 123 123 student this semester yang tengah buat yang ni, tapi in group of 4 and 5. So I will be able to share about 20 plus group punya experience. But so far, so good. They are enjoying the process because walaupun the course is about principles of, all these communication principles and all that, but they can relate to the real world situation where they can test out all these things. All right. And then another thing that I think you have to be careful of is, of course, it's always an unequal participation lah. Mesti ada apa nama issue with this lah. Tak kisahlah, no matter how perfect your planning is, there will be that kind of unequal participation. But my experience for this current cohort I'm testing has been very, very good because of this policy. Not this one is the class role rotation. Sebab kelas saya ni, bila for this session memang they will do in class. Like group work, but there will be like rotation. After 50 minutes, you switch role. So they will be taking turn to evaluate each other's prompting, and then kalau tak betul, they will help each other. So because they want the outcome, they want the final prototype to look nice, all right? Or if you don't want them to do that because you don't have the chance to do it in class, then you can ask them to, like I said, add you into the workspace. All right. And they also have, when they submit, they have to report where, what they are doing. A bit more radical would be submission of evidences on their own, meaning they have to prove. You can put in your rubrics, each member must provide evidence of your participation. Maksudnya dia kena tunjuk yang dia participate. So kalau dia prompt, dia kena screenshot, dia kumpul, dia hantar. Okay, this is my contribution to the work lah, right? So at least you can monitor this lah. But I can tell you it's not going to be 100% bulletproof. It's not going to be 100% bulletproof because you will have some problem. Not because of your task actually. Not because of your task. Not because of you. They are having other problems outside which we cannot handle. Kadang-kadang girlfriend, boyfriend bergaduh lah. Nothing to do with the task sebenarnya. but because of that, then they are not contributing to the work. So it will happen. All right. Uh, Prompt sprawl. This is another issue. Like I said just now, ada case di mana pelajar akan just copy the general one, put it in ChatGPT, and then ask ChatGPT to generate, and then they just copy paste. This is what we call as prompt sprawling lah. Dia ambil saja without really evaluating or doing some pruning lah. Okay, so you have to tell student, if you just simply copy the prompt and waiting, kalau dalam rubric tu jelas, because your marks is given to the way they prompt, then maka dia rendah because they are not using evaluation of their, whatever you have taught them in deciding the prompt. So the quality dia rendah sikit. So they will know that they have to do better. You can also adopt a prompt canvas template. Prompt canvas ni bukan canvas in Gemini or whatever. Canvas here is just like a template lah. So you can tell them like, okay, you want, what do you need to put? These are the things that you have to include in your prompting and all that. So you have some canvas for them to follow, and then they will write it down, right? You can also limit each sprint to 3 prompt revision. We call a checkpoint. Kalau you buat dalam kelas, you can say now you can only do 3 prompts. So everyone is trying to make sure that the prompt is good. Sebab tu I suka Lovable in a way, because they are the 5 daily. If they want to do the 5 in the class, they really, really, really need to think carefully before they submit tu. Kan? You get what I mean? Before dia tekan submit tu, dia kena fikir dulu. Okay, let's take a look at all this. What went wrong or whatever. Let's put it nicely. Then we prompt. So again, that helps them to be more critical. May not be that high, but at least you're pushing them to go up, right? This is the same just now with the sprawling issue, where you will have some over dependence on AI, not just in terms of the prompt for Lovable ke apa, but even the thinking process, yang idea semua pun dia nak guna AI juga. Contoh you suruh buat idea and all that, instead of they do their own idea, they ask ChatGPT for the idea. That will happen lah. You can't stop it. But as I shared just now, you can use this no AI sprint. Usually good if you do it in class. Do the non-AI thing in class first, because you can monitor, and then everyone will just do it on a paper or on a whiteboard or whatever. Then they transfer it into AI. You nak guna ChatGPT ke apa, tak ada masalah, but at least the first round of discussion is happening within non-AI context, and then put it into the canvas just now lah. Kalau ada template macam Padlet ke apa yang dikumpul, they just have to kumpul. Alright. One more thing is, get student to be aware that they must justify every parameter. So you can randomly pick. Kalau you buat presentation, is even better. After they have done the prototype, you ask them to present, and when they present, you ask them to justify why do you include that in your prompt. Why is it so important to have that in your prompt? Just to kind of create the sense of responsibility lah to the learning process. Okay, so how to vibe? This is just a general overview. You can take it from the slide that I shared in the chat just now. If you can't download, you let me know. I'll share to your email. But my suggestion to you is, you have to clarify the big why dulu. So vibe coding or vibe learning ni is really more suitable for project based, or even problem based pun boleh, team based pun boleh. Cuma they have to be clear of the big why. Why do you want them to design that thing? It cannot be just like design a website, but there's no need for them to apply the theory, the principle that you want them to learn. So it has to be clear, right? Then pick a low stake topic dulu for a start. Pick a low stake, maksudnya tak perlu go for a difficult topic dulu, something simple, so that you can remove fear and encourage it. Just get them familiarized with the whole platform and everything. Then barulah you put it as an assessment, all right? Don't forget to draft a bounded prompt. Kena set juga your criteria tu, so that they don't they don't go too far. Confirm the AI access, make sure everyone has access, okay, and create a shared prompt log. And also you have to brief them lah, what on earth is vibe learning and vibe coding and everything. Make sure they are aware, barulah you betul-betul run it. So there should be some onboarding process going on. Buat onboarding dulu, slowly buat dalam kelas, and then you say, okay, this is going to be the project that you need to do, and I want you to apply this, all right, in the whole process. Okay. Yeah, that's the key takeaway. Ada soalan tak? I think we are done for this session. Kalau ada soalan, feel free to let me know. This is like a general overview dulu lah, because I don't want to overwhelm you with so many tools. But I think Lovable is a good start, a very simple start for you to try out this kind of strategy. Um, my goal is actually I want people to believe that this vibe coding thing is not just for the coder, bukan untuk programmer sahaja. It's actually for everyone. Because the whole process of prototyping, the whole process of iteration too, will make the learning more meaningful because they see that it's going to make the outcome better rather than just submit sekali punya output. At least they get to try and then they get to do more prototyping and all that lah. Okay. Any question? Sambil-sambil. Oh, ada satu lagi yang Dr. Farah ni. Apa? My place, my rights. Property pile. Okay. Explore my area. Okay. Community no partnership. Okay. And then learn property right. Boleh juga. So of course, this is the first iteration lah kan. Right? And then when you run, like I said, when you run the iteration in the class, ask everyone to comment everything, and you also evaluate by giving your comments, then the prototyping will be better. Okay, so this is like a first start of the process lah. Okay, ada soalan tak? You guys are very kind for listening for about 1 hour plus. Any question that you like me to clarify regarding the topic that we have today for vibe coding? All good? All good? Nanti kalau ada session lain lagi tentang this vibe coding, I will share lah. And then if you're interested, you can join. So far belum planning because I'm actually waiting for the outcome of my current cohort student ni. Once that's done, I will be able to give you more example, more prototype and more artifact to showcase lah. At least you can see that it can work in the teaching learning process. All right. Yeah, you definitely definitely I will have to share more. But as how to put it, as a teaser or as a starter, can start trying out first lah and see whether it works in your context. It may not work directly. Pretty sure you have to do some changes here and there. But I do hope that everyone can embrace this vibe coding concept lah, not just for programming, but also for learning. Okay, all right. Any other question? Yeah. Oh yeah, the evidence collection one, you can set a platform because normally if in higher education context, our easy way out will be our learning management system. You can create like a submission where they have to submit the log, or you use a different platform. The easiest one that I always use is Padlet because Padlet is so easy. So every group will have its own Padlet for the Vibe project. Then let's say week 1, week 2, week 3. So week 1 they will list out all the prompt that they use, or they just screenshot what they have done. They put it in the log. If they run any discussion, they will just keep it there. So that's one way to keep track of the log lah. But there will be many ways, and I think you can also use manual portfolio like write up or whatever if you want to. Okay, but the challenging thing is to mark lah. That one maybe leave it to another discussion. How to ensure the assessment is manageable and practical. Okay.